Assalamu alaikum and good morning or good evening, whatever time you are watching this program. I want to begin once again by acknowledging the many viewers. Your feedback helps us to grow, and feedback is important for anyone's growth. And as we have said it so many times, I hope it is not sounding tedious or monotonous. Our aim here really in this program is to inspire, to help people grow, and to deal with issues that are impacting on our communities. And we are part of this beautiful country, South Africa, and we need to look at us as individuals living within this beautiful country. Now, one of the challenges people face as young people, many of them, lack a sense of identity. They feel a sense of insecurity. And when you speak to psychologists, you speak to teachers, and even to those parents who have some understanding in terms of the children's own growth, they say, you know what, my son, my daughter lacks self-esteem. Now, self-esteem has different shades of meaning, but I want to ask you, Rihanna first, what is your understanding of self-esteem?
For me, self-esteem is about your self-worth, how you, as a person, feel inside you. And self-esteem is one of the most important aspects of your being.
Okay, so you are speaking about self-worth, right? Self-concept, but what you feel about yourself. But Claudia, do you not think perhaps we're living at a time when people are more concerned about what others feel about them, and how important is their perception towards their own self?
I actually like what Rihanna says. If you know your self-worth, you will not be worried about what people think or say. And I think for our young generation, it's important to build themselves inside out versus outside in.
Yeah. Because, it's funny that you mentioned that because we are told that when you look at the mirror, you look at the mirror, you say, oh God, you made me beautiful outside, also make me beautiful inside. And without you knowing it, you're speaking about a universal truth, right?
Sure.
Bibi Aisha, from your perspective?
And firstly, I have to acknowledge what both the ladies said, very pertinent points. Like you said, love from inside will actually shine the love from outside. Very important to Allahumma anta hasanta khalqi fahsin khuluqi. That's exactly what it means. And for children to love themselves from inside, they need exterior influences. They need influences from their parents and people close to them to remind them to love themselves, especially for very young children. And for older children, they need to be reminded again by their parents that you are loved. I acknowledge you. You are worthy. And once you have that from an environment of love, you are able to believe that in yourself and spread the magic that you have within you to other people that are around you. I
mean, if you look at what you are saying, you find many fathers and mothers would say to you, I love my child. And I believe, yes, they do love their child. But a question I often ask them, did you express your love for the child? Did you demonstrate it? Did you hug your child? And they say no. Okay, what's the use? It's all in your heart or in your mind. So how important is what Bibi Aisha is saying, Claudia, on your part, to hug, to express, to tell your child, I love you, I like it.
I'm blessed to have 3 boys. And I want them to become the best fathers and the best husbands they can ever be. So for me, I always tell them I am a hugging mom. So I hug them in the morning when they go to school. I hug them in the evening when they go to bed. I kiss them even in front of their friends. I know sometimes they want to look away, and because they like matured now, the other boys can't see mommy, kiss them. But I know the importance of affection. So I agree with you that fathers and mothers must show their affection. They must not shy away, whether they've been raised that way or not.
No, it's very so it's quite clear from what you are saying. you have done that from inception.
Yes.
So it's become a natural part of the family.
Yes.
And the other point that you raised, and I know when our young boys become teenagers, you know, they often see the father and mother as an emperor and empress without clothes, as it were, like a source of embarrassment. The friends become more important. Mommy, when you come to school, please do not hug me. They say those kinds of things, and you know, because the friends now become an important part of their life. And you know, Bibi Aisha, I want to just, I know you are involved with education and you're involved with young people. You know, one of the things that people say that self-esteem is recognizing your uniqueness.
Yes.
You know, now people's self-esteem becomes eroded when they begin to compare themselves with others.
Yes.
So how important is for young people to recognize the uniqueness?
That will come from home, again, from parents. Again, if there's siblings, do not compare your children. Your one child could excel in reading, another child could excel maybe in crafts. Praise both children. I love what you did today. Mashallah, it's so lovely. I like the colors that you used. Or mashallah, I'm so impressed with the reading that you've done. Acknowledge the uniqueness in all your children and allow them to acknowledge the uniqueness in themselves and for them to go out there and praise somebody else. You know, when you praise somebody else, you're giving that person hope, and there's enough sunshine for everybody. That's what children need to grow up in a home, knowing that I'm different, but my difference is what Allah has given me as my gift. And when parents acknowledge that uniqueness, that children grow up believing that they are special. Also very important is children learn more from what we do than what we say. Like as you mentioned, you hug your children. They grow up in a hugging environment. So for them to show compassion, to go to a friend who's probably having a bad day and hugging them, it's so natural. And we as parents and even educators, we often underestimate the value of a simple touch. If you don't mind, by me just doing this and saying, it's going to be okay. Or just looking at you and doing this. You don't realize the transfer of positive energy that you're giving to another person, and that means so much to a child.
Okay, the aspect of comparison, they say comparisons are odious. You never do that.
Yes.
Because every child is unique, number one. Now, the other important thing is this. I often say this, and you could disagree with me. I have a high self-esteem, so it's okay. Right. The thing is, I often say that even a person sweeping the street can have a higher self-esteem than the king. And now, just look at it. Now, to what extent is that accurate? To what extent is it true? Because there is this erroneous notion that if I've got power, if I've got you know, a palatial home, and I've got all my material needs, therefore I, as a being, my self-esteem will be higher than the person doing something that appears manual, right?
Could I just comment on that? Again, as a person, based on the environment that you're grown up in, what are you placing your worth on? On possessions, on worldly possessions, or on the gift of who you are as a person? Wealth comes and goes. Your education also, you have it. God has given it to you. How are you using it to change the world for the better?
Okay, now that's another matter we need to speak about, right? The critical aspect in life is this, that we need to understand a few fundamental things. And from this interaction that we have had, it's quite clear that self-esteem is something imperative. It's one of the best gifts you can give your children.
Yes.
And I want to ask you a question when you come back after the break. If you as a parent have low self-esteem, can you give your child high self-esteem? Think about it. I know it's a curveball, and I like to ask those questions. And Alhamdulillah, the first segment has been wonderful. I like the conversational style. You're sharing those experiences, and I've no doubt the viewers are receptive, they're open. And remember, my beloved friends out there, if you do not change in the next 48 hours, it's unlikely you're going to change. But I believe in you.
Time is now. Time is now.
Assalamu alaikum, and welcome back to really, it's a wonderful conversation. And conversation, sometimes you ask a parent, do you have conversations? Yes, of course, I have conversations every day with my kids. And you ask the kids, your dad says he has conversations with you. What conversations? He interrogates me. He asks me, did you do your homework, son?
Exactly.
So that's my conversation, right? So the question I want to ask, as I said in the preceding segment, is that as a parent, you yourself might have low self-esteem. And you got this challenge now. You understand that you got low self-esteem, but you want your child to have a high self-esteem. What do you do?
Okay, that's a bit of a difficult question.
That's why I'm asking
Are you
you.
aware that you got low self-esteem?
You're aware of it, yes.
You're aware of it, okay. So if you don't want the same pattern to continue in your children, then you've got to be aware of what gave you that low self-esteem. Maybe you grew up in a home where you were always compared to your siblings or whatever, and you were maybe labeled as an idiot. Or, the first time you say a negative thing like idiot to your child or stupid to your child, you've already killed the child's, the aspiration to do better. Because once you start labeling somebody, they take ownership of it, especially a little child, and they will aspire to it.
Because I just want to stop you there, because it's not that the other points have been unimportant. I don't want you to feel diminished, It might affect your self-esteem. But the point is this, it is true,
Yes.
It's true that what parents say to kids, that negative talk leads to a child's negative self-talk. In fact, a study has shown that 85% of the comments made to kids are negative, only 15% complimentary. In fact, that needs to be changed. Yes. Now, Claudia, the question, this is very important that we understand this. Maybe a father or mother, maybe a mother had high self-esteem when she got married, and because of the attitude of the husband, his aggression, volatile temper, perhaps he embarrasses her in front of members of the community, and she feels like a shrinking violet, and her self-esteem has been eroded. And it's quite clear they do not cooperate regarding the upbringing of children. And the father's pattern, the husband's pattern became now the father's pattern over the kids. And she fears that, as her own self-esteem has been eroded, she doesn't want the self-esteem of a child to be eroded. So what does she do in those circumstances?
I like that very much because I'm that kind of a parent who grows with my children. In that instance, I would say, take it with a chin. Grow with your children. If you want things to change, it has to start with you. As you begin to change your inner self, to bring back your self-worth, I call it take your power back, you will actually be teaching your children how to ensure that they never give their power away. So in that process, you are able to say, okay, I'm blessed to have gifted children, but my self-esteem has been eroded. How can I use their achievements to actually uplift me? So growing with your children is spending more time, and also be honest and open. I think we have unbelievable children today. We can learn so much from them. I think one advice was ever given to me is learn from your children, listen, hear them out. That will actually assist the mother to also gain her self-esteem back, because as she exchanges conversation with her kids and get to know a small thing. Imagine if you tell your child every day, Mom loves you, Mom is proud of you. Wow. Now you grow with them, they give you that love back. Mom, we love you. Mom, we appreciate you. They do things for you. That reciprocity actually can help the mother.
I must tell you, I must be honest, not that I've been dishonest. It's the first time I heard such a perspective, and it's a beautiful perspective, is that without, lecturing and sermonizing, but helping your children to unleash their potential, to see them go vicariously, you sing all of those things. It also will enhance you.
Yes.
It will make you feel good again. You understand? And that's very, very important. But the question, Bibi Aisha, right? This is, Claudia referred to achievements, right? And I don't wholly agree with that, Claudia, I must tell you. Right? Right. Now, I'll tell you why. Because there are people who have got achievements. They have done things. And when you speak to them, not all of them, many of them have got low self-worth. Because remember this, right? Remember this. A perfectionist, for example, could either be a person with low self-esteem or with high self-esteem. Right? Some people become perfectionists for fear they do not want any criticism from other people. You understand? So you go all out, you expend your energies, right? But my question to you is this, right? And which we're going to speak about, right? What three things, we spoke about the father loving the child, and also critical, the father and mother loving each other.
Yes.
Right? Right. Now, what other thing that a parent can do at home to unleash or develop the self-esteem of the child?
Okay, very important, like we said, the parent's reaction towards their child and your interaction with your child help build your child's self-esteem. Which parent wouldn't want the best for their child? You as a parent may have had ups and downs in your life and you may have not achieved what you wanted to. But the fact that you are a parent, that alone is a gift from the Almighty. And how you groom your child may not be academically achieving very well, but if your child has good manners, if your child knows how to treat people, you've achieved a lot. Because when that child grows up, that child is going to grow up to be a gentleman or woman with principle, compassion, and empathy. And that's what many children
Aisha,
lack today.
Okay, you know what? The point that you made, right? Sorry, I'm not rude to point fingers. The point that you made about academic excellence, and this is a critical point. I want parents to know that academic excellence is not a precursor for real success. It's not even an indicator. That's important. And when it comes to academic excellence, all kids come to school with three things: with an IQ, with an attitude, and baggage of values. You may have siblings. Person Y may not have the intellect of person X. He tries very hard, but he passes. But the first one with the intellect does well without working very hard. You understand? So he does not make the other person, the other son or daughter who's not doing so well, a lesser person. And I think we need to understand that.
Yes.
Okay, now the next segment, what I would like to talk about is what are the attributes of children with high self-esteem? What are the attributes of children with low self-esteem? My beloved parents, I cannot, or we cannot as a collective overemphasize the need to develop your own children, get actively involved. You cannot be a remote control parent. You cannot say, I give my son everything. Whatever he wants, I give him. It's not about that. He wants you. He wants your love. He wants your affection. He wants your affirmation. He wants your appreciation. He wants your acknowledgement. He wants your affection. And he wants your attention. We'll be back immediately after this break. Don't go away.
Time is now. Time is now.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back, my most beloved brothers and sisters. One of our recurring themes is about upliftment, to change, to pursue a life of excellence, to leave a legacy, to be a person of significance. And it starts at home, that you as a father and mother, you should be the role model. It is not so much who you want your child to be, but does your child want to be you? And that's a fundamental question. Rihanna, Are you nervous?
No.
Not at all. Okay, then let's
Not
go.
with you.
Okay, so Rihanna, the question is, let's look at firstly, what are the attributes of children with high self-esteem?
Okay. Children with high self-esteem come across as confident,
Okay,
right? They tend to be entrepreneurs, leaders.
leaders, yes.
Yes.
Okay, yes, 2 is enough for now, right?
Okay.
So
I've got a whole list.
I know. Yes, I'm worried. I'm nervous. I'm sweating. Okay, you might exhaust my list also. So it's about confident and leaders.
Leaders.
Claudia, few
They are independent,
independent, yes.
and they have high self-belief.
High
They really
self-belief.
believe in themselves.
Okay,
They problem solvers
problem solvers,
and they happy.
happy. Okay, so let's see, right? We spoke about being confident, leaders, problem solvers. They're happy, independent, but I must also say they're also interdependent.
All
Yeah,
right.
right,
Yes.
because they although they can be independent, they're also independent. But I want to share, if I could, a few other qualities. Right, right. The other quality of a child with high self-esteem, he has a generosity of heart.
Yes.
He feels good for other people's successes,
Yes.
and he feels sadness for their pain.
Yes.
He understands what his strengths are and his areas for development.
So true.
He's not a procrastinator, he's decisive.
Yes.
Another important quality is humble. Because the notion people have, can you have too much of high self-esteem? I say no. Arrogant people have low self-esteem.
self-esteem.
Right? So that's, now you see how important. And also, children with high self-esteem are able to adapt, they embrace change.
Yes.
And you said problem solvers is so true, because a person with low self-esteem, I'll share with you one attribute, get yours, then once you are giving yours, I'll think deeply. You know, the idea is when a person got low self-esteem, he, for every problem, or rather for every solution, he
There's
find
a
a problem.
problem.
Yes.
as it were.
Yes.
So let's look at the attributes with children with low self-esteem.
Okay, lack of confidence.
Lack of confidence, yes.
Okay, and they're generally unhappy.
Okay, lack of confidence, unhappy, yes. Claudia?
They are susceptible to peer pressure.
Very good, right? Very good to you, Turian, in case you feel diminished. Very good to all of you. Right, okay, right. It's true, because we find that children who got low self-esteem, they succumb easily
Yes.
to negative peer pressure.
Yes.
Okay, what about you?
There's a lot of blame. Everyone else is blamed except them. They don't take responsibility for their actions. And like we said, they succumb to peer pressure, like you said, and especially in the teen years, that can be very bad, because that's when they get introduced to substance abuse and bullying and a whole lot of other vices.
Yeah, so, yeah, that's a good point. In terms of, not accepting responsibility, they have a victim mentality,
Yes.
right? Now, some of the other attributes which I also like to share, they feel very insecure,
Yes.
and this is also very important. They're very suspicious. They make assumptions. You know what I'm saying to you? If they walk into the room, if two people are talking, they stop talking, they say, I'm sure they're speaking about me.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
And the other thing is this, they do not adapt to change.
Okay.
Right? And they are very, very conservative. They'll find every excuse why they cannot change. They become spectators in their own life. They feel a sense of entitlement,
Yes.
why me and whatnot. So it's quite clear that children with low self-esteem will not be able to unleash the potential. In fact, if you were to meet someone who got low self-esteem, you tell the person, you know what, I really care for you.
Yes.
They say, no, why is he saying that?
Yes.
He has
What does
another
he want?
motive.
Yes.
So parents, I mean, it's quite clear that the issue of self-esteem is not something peripheral, unimportant. It's something very, very critical. It's a launching pad for your child's growth, and you see it. Sometimes in the same home. One child with high self-esteem, someone else with low self-esteem. You know, Claudia, you know, whilst we're at it, you know, I just had a peek at your son's book. He's 16-year-old, and the book that he wrote, my gosh, you know, I went through it very, very quickly, which you notice. A 16-year-old boy writing with such maturity, writing about things that other motivational speakers write. What is it that you have done, the father has done, whatever, to help unleash this potential?
Thanks for that, Adris. I think for us, because growing ourselves with our children was the most important thing. Everything we were exposed to, we exposed our kids to, both myself and my husband. And I think because our community is a community where children are taught who they want to be, sometimes parents want the children to be who they could not. We were very careful of not raising our kids the same way. So it was very important for us to say, look, we want you to be what God has gifted you on. So the first thing we did with Ntando, he could not speak. He took time to speak. He could not walk. He took time to walk.
He took time to speak. When did he start speaking?
He started speaking almost at 3, 2.5. And when he started speaking, to our surprise, he would read a word in the billboards. He started saying big company names who are advertising themselves around the big billboards. And myself and my husband will look at each other and think, did you hear that? Is there something wrong here? And he will take the newspaper and he will read the headlines of the newspaper. That's when we realized, oopsie, there must be something about this child. All we did then, we started buying him books. We started buying him alphabets, like sometimes we'll buy 4 packs of alphabets, because then he could put words. He will say your name without having sent it somewhere, he will put it together in words. That's when we realized that, oh, it will be nice to just hone in and nurture this talent. So he grew up then reading. He started teaching himself speed reading, like you just did. He will finish a book in an hour. And for us to believe that he has read it, we'll say, okay, tell us what the book is about. And that's when we realized that even his comprehension of big items, big words, was unbelievable, because he will review a book like an adult, and he will tell you the lessons learned out of the book.
You know, Claudia, it's a very good story, because there are many lessons. There are 3 lessons I gleaned from what you are saying. Number one, that you and your husband together, you brought up this kid.
Yes.
In other words, it was a unified purpose.
Yes.
Secondly, you were able to identify the talent, right? And thirdly, what have you done was to be a facilitator and an enabler. And that's very, very good. So my brothers and sisters, from what you have heard in this segment, there are many lessons to be taken away from this. I think you and I have seen that when it comes to low self-esteem, the attributes that such a person possesses will not help him to grow. He'll always be sad, depressed. He'll be living in an inward world. But the child with a high self-esteem, the overriding factor will be his humility. But together with that, his self-belief. He'll be able to unleash his potential, and he'll be a contributor to society and not a consumer. And from Claudia's story regarding a son, it's about the role mom and dad play in nurturing children. You know what? Feeding, clothing, and housing them is not the sum total of your responsibility. We are not here to chastise you. We are acutely aware that we are living in challenging times, the economic constraints. May God make it easy for you. But in the process, unleash the child's potential rather than squelching his creativity.
Time is now. Time is now.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Like all good things, it all has to come to an end. We speak about the role of the parents regarding self-esteem. But there are also instances of educators that are often very insensitive, who destroy the self-esteem of children. And it really saddens me. Now, what advice do you have for educators?
Okay, yeah, I feel the educator's role is of paramount importance, because the educator can sometimes undo the damage that has been done in the home.
Correct.
So say you get a child with low self-esteem in your class. You need to be able to recognize that this is the problem. And you need to see beyond that and help this child to build up their self-esteem. But in many, many cases in the educators, especially with the challenges they're facing in education in South Africa, the problem is that there's 40, 45 children in a class. When does the educator get a chance to get to know each child in the class? A whole year will pass, and that little boy sitting right at the back there, the teacher has no idea why this child is not achieving. It's
But
because they never had time.
I want to stop you there for a moment. I'll tell you why. You know what? I'm not here to diminish the challenges that some
Educators
schools
face,
go through.
yes.
And I've been to some of the schools, and like in Pongola and whatnot. But the same token, I know there are teachers who are so creative that they have a plan of action,
Right.
and that they do a one-to-one profile. They would know. They would tell the children, I'm here for you. I'm like your father. And they're saying in loco parentis,
Yes.
I'm here to talk to you and whatnot. They're able to address that. But I'm not diminishing their challenges. So, Claudia, on your part?
I'd also like to say to the teachers, we are all given different responsibilities by God. It's their responsibility to assist us as parents by taking care of our children when we are not there. So teachers who see children with low self-esteem, they should actually make sure that when they group them, because teachers also, they like easy things, they will group the low self-esteem together and the high self-esteem together. That doesn't work. I
Correct.
think teachers, it's about time that they challenge the children and stretch the children.
Correct.
Those who have strengths must be mixed with those with weaknesses, so that imagine a low self-esteem child who is grouped in a project with high self-esteem children. Guess what? Together they achieve. Together they win. Together they make a difference. That child is given an opportunity to even learn the secrets of these high self-esteem children. So I think if teachers could do more of those creative project and program and involve the children, and like she said, push the child with low self-esteem, make him realize that diamond inside of him needs to come out, you will be shocked at how many children you will save.
This might surprise you. I'm not saying it to wax lyrical about me. When I was the head teacher of one of the schools, once a week I had a lesson on self-esteem.
Wow.
Once a week on self-esteem. Because I realized that's the foundation, as it
Yes,
were.
yes.
But it's not about me.
Yes.
It's about you, right?
Yes.
So maybe Aisha, on your part.
Okay, I think to both my guests, the speakers that are talking with us today, the fellow guest speakers, I hear you, but from an educator's perspective, I stand to be corrected, but I need to defend my profession, my colleagues, and myself. Yes, we have large classes. Yes, we deal with lots of issues. We're not just educators. Unfortunately, in today's classroom, we are the mother, we are the father, we are the judge, we are the lawyer, we are the nurse, we are the nurturer. There's a lot of responsibilities. A lot of cooperative learning does take place. Children are not graded as A, B, and C, which was done previously. With the new curriculum, there's a lot of group teaching. There's a lot of cooperative learning. We don't label children. So, we would like parents to visit the classrooms and see what happens. But on behalf of my colleagues, and this is a message, a reminder firstly to myself, as well as to my colleagues and to parents, there is not them and us. It is us together. Whenever we have parent meetings at school, whenever we
Aisha,
address...
I want to stop you there. I know the theme, right?
Yes.
But I'm talking about the advice for the educator.
The advice?
And I'm not denying some of the
Yes.
great things that are happening, you know.
Yes.
What one specific advice can you give the educator?
You chose to come into this profession. This profession is not going to get you $1 million and you're not going to drive a very fancy car or a very fancy house. But you're molding human beings. You're molding the future generation of our land. What better resource that you have?
Okay.
So this is somebody's child who's now your child. What are you going to do to leave a heartprint in that child's life?
No, I think it's a good message to all of us. It's a reminder. Sometimes we forget.
Yes.
Like one of my friends, Farooq Hussain, reminded me that a teacher is not a sage on the stage, but a guide on the side.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, Rihanna, in terms of the parents, you know, they've been watching, and many of them are loyal viewers of ITV. Talk to them. What advice do you have for them?
All right. I think as a parent, it's very important to communicate with your child all the time. So always find out what kind of a day did they have. And when they're talking to you, listen to them attentively. Don't just listen to give an answer. Listen attentively to the messages, what they're trying to tell you. Because that way, you will save your child a lot of pain and heartache. Also remember, every child is a rough diamond. It's our duty to make that diamond shine.
Claudia?
Yes. My brothers and sisters, our children are a gift from God. If we can do what we can, because we are such privileged to be given this responsibility to raise them to be who they are meant to be. Give your child time. Time is the most important gift you can give to your children, not your money. The more time you spend with them, guess what? You will also learn something from them. So by being an absent parent, you are depriving yourself an opportunity to grow with your children.
You know, I know those of you are not here. I know Claudia, she's from her heart, tears are welling there, you know. I mean, why are you, I'm happy, but what is it that making you so emotional about it?
I think what makes it emotional for me is that I feel I was gifted to be given Tando as a son. And because I was present, I gave him time, I gave him love. I've learned so much from him. I tell him every day I wish I could have a tape recorder and tape the advice he gives me, because he is able to challenge me as a parent. He is able to show me my own mistakes. So it's not a one-way stream, it's a two-way stream. I learn from him, he learns from me. And I think parents, if they could do the same for their children, what a better world will we have?
Okay, no, fine. Maybe Aisha?
Yeah, I'm so touched by what Claudia has said. Take the cue from your child. Take the cue from your children. Watch the verbal communication, listen to them. Watch the non-verbal communication. Look at your child's behavior. You know your child. Who knows your child better than you? And take the cue from your child and move forward. And the other thing that I want parents to know is that your children are a gift. They are your legacy. What are you going to inculcate in them? What legacy are you going to leave behind? Be grateful to Allah that you are blessed to be parents.
You know, Alhamdulillah, there are so many lessons to be learned. I know parents mean well, and perhaps, you know, parents have grown up in a home where they themselves have been deprived of love, of affection. At that time we lived, they say we lived in a village. It takes a whole village to bring up a child. Today we are living in a nuclear family. So it is critical, my beloved fathers and mothers, at least hug your child, acknowledge your child, give your child self-belief. And remember, children are fallible, they will make mistakes. We all make mistakes. Do pray for them, never, never give up on them. Stay in relationship with them. Your children will surprise you. This is Idris Kamisa saying, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I like it.